All right, it's time to finish this guy out by adding the wheel at the base. Come back and look at our reference image again. See, we have our wheel down here. Now, building a wheel may seem a little counterintuitive at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's really pretty easy. So I'm going to create a new file or a new scene. I'm going to grab my linear drawing tool, middle mouse click, go to the front view, and I'm going to draw my profile spline in here. So I'm going to come about 1, 2, 3 grid lines out. Put my first point there. Come up to about here. Put my second point there. 1, 2, 3. Come over like that. And then come down. Next, I'm going to grab my live selection tool. Make sure I'm in point mode. And just paint these 2 top points. Next, I'm going to right click, grab chamfer, and drag to the right. And I'm just going to make this chamfer probably, let's say 12 centimeters. Next, I need to grab the create outline tool. So I'll right click, grab that. We'll just create an outline, something like that. So this is going to be our profile spline. This is what we're going to actually use to create the tire. Go back into the perspective view. Back into model mode. And let's come up here and grab the lathe NURBS. I'm going to drop the spline underneath the lathe NURBS, and we get this. Now, this certainly doesn't look like a wheel. That's because what we need to do is come over here and rotate the Z-axis. Grab this, rotate it till we get to -90. Still doesn't look like what we're after. If we come over here and grab the move tool and pull the Y out, we start getting our tire shape. Okay. Now from this point, we can take the lathe NURBS and increase the subdivisions quite a bit and smooth that out. I'm going to turn on my lines. You can kind of see what's happening. Let's just change this to an even number. Now what I'm going to do is take these two, right click, say current state to object, and then I'm just going to get rid of the top two. So I'm left with this polygon. I'm going to go into polygon mode, hit K on my keyboard for knife, make sure that I am in loop mode. Now what I'm after here is I want to put a cut. Let me turn off snapping here. I want to put a cut directly in the middle of this. So while I have my cursor over the object, I'm going to hit Shift on the keyboard, and that's going to stay right there. Then I can come over here to the offset, and I can put anything I want in here. So I'm going to put 50%. So I want it exactly in the middle here. Then I come back over here, and I can click, and then I have my cut exactly where I want it. Next thing I'm going to do is come over here to Edge mode, U and L on the keyboard to go into loop mode. I'm going to select that. Next, I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to the bevel command, drag out to the right a little bit. So I have something like that. And we'll go back to polygon mode, UL again on the keyboard, and select that row. Right click, extrude, and we just want to push that in a little bit. Something like that. We can take a hyper NURBS, drop it in the scene, drop this underneath there. You can kind of see what we're getting. Not there yet. Turn that back off. Go to polygon mode. U, L. We're going to select this row. We're going to select this row. And we want to make sure that we pull these in a little bit because these are going to be sort of the knobby tires. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to extrude enter. And right now we have preserve groups checked. We don't want that. So we're going to come over here, uncheck that, and then we get these happening individually. Now the offset, I'm going to change that to about 4. Now I'm going to come over here, I'm going to extrude, and I want these to come out something like that. Okay. So now if we turn our hypernerves back on, you can see we get this. Well, that's not exactly what we want. We want to tighten these up because they're too round right now. So we'll come back over here, turn the knife on, K on the keyboard, uncheck Restrict to Selection. We want to come in here and make some cuts. So we'll say about right here. Let's cut it there. And let's say there. We turn this back on. You can see it sort of tighten those up. Let's do that for the next row. Something about there. And there. So that's more of what we're looking for. All right. Let's turn this off. Now with these still selected, I'm going to come over here. I want to go to Select, Set Selection. So now I have this selected. I'm going to create a material real quick. Double clicking down here. And I want this material to be black. And I also want it to have a bump map. And for the bump, I'm going to come over here and put a noise texture in here. Click on the noise. Take the global scale down to, let's say, 5. So we have a little roughness here in this. Then I'm going to take this. I'm going to drag it onto these. Let's turn this back on. All right, let's go ahead and create another material. Let's turn this back off. I'm going to create just a plain black material. Something like that. I'm going to double click on here to make this selection again. Then I'm going to go to Select, Invert. So that's going to select everything else. Then I'm going to take this material and I'm going to drag it on that selection. All right. So now what we should have, we turn this hypernerves back on. Something that looks like that. Okay. Now one last thing I'm going to do is I want to take this and turn this 90 degrees. Back over here. Looks pretty good. So now we can take our tire. Let's just rename this tire. And let's go to Mesh Axis Center, Center, and Mesh Axis Center. Okay. Let's take this, edit copy, and then we'll go to Window, go back to our original, and we'll paste that into the scene. Now, right now, it's obviously huge compared to everything else. So we will scale that down. Come over here to our front view. E on the keyboard. I'm going to pull that down. Continue to scale a little bit. Something like that. Let's come back over here to our perspective view. Maybe even just pull this out a little wider. All right. I think we're getting there. Let's go in here and turn on our hypernerves for our different objects. And maybe take these eyes, group them, and take another hypernerves and drop that into that hierarchy. And let's just take a quick render here. All right. So this is the completed robot. Looks pretty good. In the next movie, I think what we're going to do is go ahead and put some materials on this and see if we can't make him look a little more stylish. So I'll see you in the next movie.